The war room of the Empire buzzed with excitement. Supreme Commander stood before a massive holographic display showing a small blue planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. His officers gathered around him, their faces filled with anticipation. This was going to be their easiest conquest yet. Earth announced, pointing at the rotating image. A primitive world. They still use chemical rockets. Their fastest ships barely reach their own moon. This will take less than a day. The other commanders laughed. They had conquered 847 star systems in the past 2,000 years. Earth would be number 848. The Empire stretched across 3 arms of the galaxy. Every species they encountered either joined them willingly or was forced to submit. Earth would be no different. Captain sat in the command chair of the UES Horizon, floating silently in the darkness beyond Neptune, her eyes fixed on the sensor display. 3 weeks ago, her ship had detected something unusual. Now she knew what it was. A massive fleet. 500 alien warships heading straight for Earth. She pressed a button on her console. All stations remain in stealth mode. Do not emit any signals. Let them come closer. Her crew worked quietly. The Horizon was one of humanity's most advanced ships, but the aliens didn't know it existed. In fact, the aliens didn't know that humanity had dozens of ships like the Horizon scattered throughout the solar system. They thought Earth was alone and helpless. Had been a space captain for 12 years. She remembered when humanity first achieved faster-than-light travel 40 years ago. The celebration lasted for weeks, but the government made a crucial decision. They decided to keep it secret. Earth would watch the galaxy quietly, learning about other species before revealing themselves. That decision was about to prove its worth. Admiral paced in the underground command center beneath Seoul. The walls displayed hundreds of screens showing data from ships, satellites, and listening posts across the solar system. Every piece of information about the approaching alien fleet flowed through this room. "How long until they arrive?" he asked. 2 weeks and 3 days, replied Lieutenant, studying her console. "They're using old-style hyperspace drives, very predictable, very slow." Nodded, "And they still have no idea we can see them." "None, sir. They think we're primitives. Their intelligence reports show they've been monitoring our public broadcasts, television, radio, internet traffic. They see what we want them to see." The Admiral smiled. Humanity had been carefully managing what signals leaked into space for the past 30 years. They showed the world as it was 50 years ago. Old technology, primitive rockets, no hint of the true capabilities Earth possessed. "Contact Doctor. Tell her I need her analysis of their weapon systems within 6 hours." On the flagship, Commander reviewed the intelligence reports again. Earth's population stood at 8 billion. The planet had abundant resources, water, minerals, agricultural land, and 8 billion potential slaves for the Empire's labor force. "Their military capabilities?" he asked his intelligence officer. "Minimal, Commander. They have chemical explosives, metal projectiles, some orbital satellites, no energy shields, no plasma weapons. Their fastest combat aircraft travel at supersonic speeds but remain within their atmosphere." Laughed. "My ancestors fought more dangerous prey 2,000 years ago. Prepare the standard occupation protocol. We'll position the fleet in orbit, broadcast the surrender demand, and wait. They always surrender when they see the fleet." What didn't know was that every signal his intelligence teams intercepted had been manufactured. Humanity's actual military bases were hidden on the dark side of the moon, in asteroid facilities, and on stations built into Jupiter's moons. The technology shown on Earth's surface was deliberately outdated, maintained specifically for alien observers. Doctor worked in a secure laboratory 3 kilometers beneath Tokyo. Around her, the most brilliant scientists on Earth analyzed every scrap of data about the Empire. Their ships, their weapons, their shields, everything. "This is almost disappointing," she said to her colleague, Doctor. "Their shield technology is at least 200 years behind ours. Their weapons are even worse." Nodded, studying a holographic model of a warship. "Look at their power generation. They're still using fusion reactors. We've had antimatter reactors for 15 years. And their sensors," continued. "They can't detect our stealth fields. They can't see our ships even when we're right next to them. It's like they're blind." "Should we tell the Admiral?" asked. "Already did. He asked if we could win. I told him we could destroy their entire fleet without losing a single ship." The War Council met in a reinforced bunker that could survive a direct nuclear strike. Admiral stood at the head of the table. Around him sat Earth's military commanders, government leaders, and scientific advisors. President occupied the chair at the opposite end. "We have two options," began. "We can continue hiding and let them arrive, or we can reveal ourselves now and warn them away." General spoke up. "If we warn them, they'll know we have advanced technology. They'll return with more ships, better prepared." "If we let them come," said President, "we can show the galaxy exactly what happens when someone attacks Earth. One demonstration, one battle, one message that will echo across every star system." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what the President meant. Humanity had been watching the Empire for 3 decades. They'd seen the slavery, the conquered worlds, the oppression. This wasn't just about defending Earth. This was about sending a message to every aggressive species in the galaxy. "The question is," said quietly, "are we ready to reveal ourselves? Once we do this, there's no going back. The galaxy will know we exist. They'll know we're powerful." Stood up. "Admiral, we're not just powerful, we're dominant. Our technology surpasses anything we've observed in the galaxy. If we're going to reveal ourselves, we should do it in a way that ensures no one ever makes the mistake of attacking us again." President looked around the table. "All in favor of allowing the fleet to approach and then demonstrating our full capabilities?" Every hand rose. "Then it's decided," said. "Admiral, you have full authorization to engage with overwhelming force. Show them what humanity can do." 3,000 light-years away, on the Empress reviewed the expansion plans. Earth was marked as Target 848, a minor operation, barely worth her attention. She approved the conquest with a casual gesture and moved on to more important matters. She had no idea that she had just authorized the end of her empire. Back on Earth, Captain received new orders. Her ship and 200 others would form the forward ambush line. They would be the first to strike when the order came. She looked at her crew, young men and women who had trained their entire lives for this moment. "Get some rest," she told them. "In 2 weeks we're going to change the galaxy forever." The countdown had begun. The moment arrived exactly as predicted. Space itself seemed to tear open at the edge of Earth's solar system. One by one, 500 warships emerged from hyperspace. Their massive hulls reflected the distant light of the sun. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a city. Together, they represented the might of an empire that had never known defeat. Commander stood on his bridge, satisfaction warming his chest. The journey had taken 3 weeks, but now Earth floated before them, vulnerable, undefended, perfect. "Begin sensor sweeps," he ordered. "Let's see what these primitives have." The sensor officer worked quickly, his equipment scanning the entire solar system. "Commander, I'm detecting multiple satellites in orbit around the planet. Several space stations, basic construction, no weapons signatures, no shield generators, no military vessels of any kind." Nodded. "Exactly as expected. Take us in. Standard approach. Maximum intimidation formation." The fleet began moving forward. 500 ships arranged in a pattern designed to inspire terror. Every conquered species had looked up at this formation and realized resistance was futile. Earth would be no different. What they didn't see were the 1,200 human warships surrounding them. Each ship sat perfectly still, wrapped in stealth fields that bent light and radiation around their hulls. They were invisible, undetectable, waiting. Aboard the UES Horizon, Captain watched the alien fleet lumber past her position. Her ship floated less than 1,000 kilometers from the nearest cruiser. Her crew barely breathed. The stealth systems were perfect, but old habits died hard. Everyone stayed quiet during an ambush. "Their shields are at minimum power," whispered Lieutenant, monitoring the alien ship's emissions. "They're conserving energy. They think there's no threat." Allowed herself a small smile. "Maintain position. Wait for Admiral's signal." 300,000 kilometers away, the Admiral sat in his command chair aboard the UES Phoenix. Around him, his staff coordinated the positions of every human ship in the fleet. They had practiced this maneuver 100 times. Now it was real. "All ships report ready," his tactical officer announced. "Hold position," replied. "Let them get closer, let them commit." On Earth, billions of people watched their screens. Every television, every computer, every phone displayed the same image: the alien fleet approaching their home. President had authorized a global broadcast. Everyone would see what happened next. In homes across the planet, families gathered. Parents held their children. Some people prayed. Others simply watched in silence. Humanity had lived for thousands of years wondering if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and that answer was coming to conquer them. But humanity had a surprise waiting. The fleet reached Mars' orbit. Their sensors showed them everything they expected to see: a primitive planet, no defenses, no resistance. Commander activated the communication system. The computer had prepared surrender demands in 47 Earth languages, gathered from intercepted broadcasts. "Attention, Earth," his voice boomed across every frequency. "This is Supreme Commander of the Empire. Your planet is now property of the Empire. You will surrender immediately. You will provide all resources we demand. You will serve the Empire. Resistance is futile. You have 1 hour to respond." In the Seoul Command Center, General looked at President. "Sir." The President nodded. "Send our response." The communications officer typed a single word in perfect language. A language Earth had decoded 30 years ago by intercepting military transmissions. A language the aliens thought no one else could speak. The word appeared on screen: "Declined." For a moment the commander could only stare. Someone had responded in his language. How was that possible? The intelligence reports showed these primitives barely understood their own solar system. How could they speak? "Commander," his sensor officer suddenly screamed. "Multiple contacts all around us, hundreds of ships, thousands, they're everywhere." Spun to face the main display, his blood turned to ice. The space around his fleet was suddenly filled with warships. Sleek, modern, deadly. They appeared out of nowhere, their stealth fields dropping simultaneously. 1,200 human vessels in a perfect sphere formation, every weapon already powered up and locked onto targets. "Where did they come from?" whispered. Captain allowed herself to speak normally now. "All weapons, target lock confirmed. Shields to maximum. Prepare to fire on Admiral's order." Around her, the crew worked with practiced efficiency. This was what they had trained for. The UES Horizon and her sister ships had been built specifically for this moment, to defend Earth, to show the galaxy that humanity was not prey. Admiral opened a channel to the entire human fleet. "All ships, this is Phoenix Actual. Today we show the galaxy who we are. Today we defend our home. Today we ensure that no one ever makes the mistake of attacking Earth again. Fire when ready." On Earth, people watched as the alien fleet found itself surrounded. Suddenly, humanity didn't look helpless anymore. They looked terrifying. Commander frantically issued orders. "Shields to maximum. All weapons, return fire, get us out of here." but his ships moved like ancient sailing vessels compared to the human fleet. Their shield generators took precious seconds to power up. Their weapons needed time to target. Their engines couldn't accelerate fast enough. They didn't have seconds. The human fleet opened fire. Doctor watched from the Tokyo laboratory as her weapon systems performed exactly as designed. The plasma lance arrays that she had helped develop reached across space like fingers of blue fire. Each lance carried enough energy to punch through a shield in under 3 seconds. "The shields are failing across their fleet," reported, watching his sensors. "Just as we predicted, their technology can't handle our power output." Around Earth's moon, the defensive platforms that General had built activated, designed to fire projectiles at near-light speed. Each shot carried kinetic energy comparable to a nuclear weapon. The targeting computers locked onto vessels and fired. The projectiles crossed the distance to the alien fleet in fractions of a second, moving so fast that the sensors couldn't track them, moving so fast that the impacts happened before the aliens even knew they'd been fired upon. Ships began exploding. Lieutenant counted the kills from her station. Hostile destroyers sections 7 through 12 eliminated. Cruisers are taking critical damage. Their carriers can't launch fighters. Their command ship's shields are at 40% and falling. Watched the tactical display with professional satisfaction. The ambush was working perfectly. The fleet was trapped, surrounded, outmatched. They had walked into a kill box thinking they were the hunters. Instead, they were the prey. Commander's flagship shuddered under multiple impacts. Plasma fire burned through his shields. Antimatter torpedoes detonated against his hull. His ship, the pride of the military, was being torn apart. "Damage report," he shouted over the alarms. "Shields failing. Hull breaches on decks 10 through 30. Engine section destroyed. We've lost main power." Looked at the display showing his fleet. Ship after ship disappeared from the screen. 500 warships dying in seconds. The greatest fleet the Empire had ever assembled, annihilated by a species they thought was primitive. "How," he whispered, "how is this possible?" Around the solar system, human ships pressed their attack. Fighter squadrons led by pilots like lieutenants swept through the formation. Their ships moved with impossible agility, using technology that allowed them to turn and accelerate in ways that would kill any pilot without proper protection. The human fighters dodged weapons fire with ease. Their shields shrugged off the few shots that connected. Their own weapons cut through alien ships like paper. President watched from Earth as the battle unfolded. It wasn't really a battle. It was an execution, clean, efficient, overwhelming, exactly what they had planned. "How long has it been?" he asked. An aide checked his watch. 22 seconds, sir." 22 seconds. In 22 seconds, the invasion fleet had been reduced to floating debris. Only Commander's bridge section remained intact, deliberately spared by Admiral's precise targeting. The galaxy was about to learn a very important lesson about humanity. Admiral watched the tactical display as the last ship stopped moving. 28 seconds. That's how long it took to destroy 500 warships. 28 seconds to end an invasion. 28 seconds to change the galaxy. "All ships cease fire," he ordered. "Damage report." His tactical officer scanned through the data streaming from the fleet. "No human casualties, sir. No ships damaged. All systems functioning normally. We used approximately 3% of our total ammunition." 3%. They had destroyed an Empire's fleet using 3% of their weapons, felt no joy in the victory, only a grim satisfaction that the plan had worked. Earth was safe, and the galaxy now knew the truth about humanity. "Send recovery teams to that bridge section," he ordered, pointing at the floating wreckage of his flagship. "I want prisoners. I want them to see what happened. I want them to tell their Empire what they saw here today." Captain brought the UES Horizon alongside the destroyed command ship. Through the viewports, she could see the alien bridge. Life support was failing. Emergency lights flickered. And through the cracked windows, she saw faces. Alien faces filled with terror and confusion. "Lieutenant, take your Marines and board that wreck," ordered. "Bring me their commander, alive." Saluted and left the bridge. Minutes later, she and her team crossed the space between ships in their powered armor. The armor made them look like walking tanks. Each suit stood 3 meters tall, powered by miniature fusion reactors, protected by personal shields that could stop anything that could throw at them. The Marines cut through the hull of the alien ship with plasma torches. They entered the bridge carefully, weapons ready. But there was no fight. The crew simply stared at them, defeated, broken, unable to comprehend what had happened. Commander sat in his command chair looking at nothing. His fleet was gone, thousands of his people dead. His empire's reputation shattered, all in less than 30 seconds. "On your feet," said through her translator. "You're coming with us." Stood slowly. He was tall for his species, but the human in the powered armor towered over him. He and his surviving bridge crew were escorted through the wreckage and onto the human ship. The prisoners were brought before Captain. She studied them carefully. These were the officers of a mighty empire, conquerors who had enslaved hundreds of worlds. Now they stood before her, defeated and humiliated. "I am captain of the United Earth Space Forces," she said through the translator. "You attacked our world. That was a mistake. Now you will tell me everything about your empire, your military, your government, everything." Looked at her with something like wonder in his eyes. "How?" he asked. "How did you hide all of this? Our intelligence said you were primitive. You had chemical rockets, radio, no space military. How did you hide 1,200 warships?" Smiled coldly. "We didn't hide them. We let you see what we wanted you to see. We broadcast old technology. We showed you our past, not our present. You believed what you wanted to believe. That was your mistake." On Earth, President stood before cameras broadcasting to the entire planet. Behind him, screens showed the aftermath of the battle, debris floating in space, human ships patrolling the battlefield, complete and total victory. "Citizens of Earth," he began, "today we faced our first test as a spacefaring species. An alien empire came to conquer us. They believed we were weak, helpless, easy prey. They were wrong." Around the world, people watched and listened. Fear turned to pride. Uncertainty turned to confidence. They had always wondered if humanity could survive among the stars. Now they knew. "For 30 years we have watched the galaxy in secret," continued. "We learned. We prepared. We built a military force capable of defending our home. Today that force proved its worth. Today we showed the galaxy that Earth cannot be conquered, that humanity will not be enslaved, that we stand ready to defend ourselves against any threat." He paused, letting his words sink in. "But this is not just about defense. This is about the future. The Empire has enslaved hundreds of worlds. Billions of beings suffer under their rule. That ends now. We are sending a message to every corner of the galaxy, a message that will be heard by every species. Earth demands peace. Earth demands freedom for all enslaved peoples. Earth will use its strength to protect the weak and punish the aggressors." In the Soul Command Center, Doctor compiled her battle analysis. Every weapon system had performed beyond expectations. The plasma lances had cut through shields like they weren't there. The antimatter torpedoes had vaporized entire ships. The projectiles had struck with devastating precision. "This wasn't even a fair fight," she told General. "Their technology is centuries behind ours. It's like bringing swords to a gunfight. No, worse. It's like bringing stones to a nuclear war." Nodded grimly. "That's what I'm worried about. We just revealed ourselves to be the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Every species out there now knows we exist. Some will want to be our friends. Others will see us as a threat. What do you recommend?" "We expand, fast. We build more ships, more stations, more defenses. We secure a defensive perimeter around Earth that no one can penetrate, and we prepare for whoever comes next. Aboard the UES Phoenix, Admiral received a communication from Fleet Command on Earth. They were already preparing the next phase. Communications Director had been authorized to broadcast the battle footage across every known alien communication frequency. "Make sure everyone sees it," told his communications officer. "Every species, every government, every military force in the galaxy. I want them all to see what happened here. I want them to understand exactly what will happen if they attack us." The footage was prepared carefully. It showed the fleet arriving, confident and powerful. It showed them discovering the human fleet. It showed the 28 seconds of total annihilation. And it ended with a simple message in every major galactic language. "Earth will defend itself. Earth will defend the innocent. Do not make the mistake the Empire made." 3,000 light-years away, on the Empress received the first reports of the disaster. At first, she refused to believe them. It was impossible. 500 ships destroyed, in 30 seconds, by a primitive species. Then the footage arrived. She watched in horror as her greatest fleet was torn apart. She saw weapons technology she didn't understand, shield systems that shouldn't exist, ships that moved with impossible speed and precision. The primitives weren't primitive at all. They were advanced, incredibly advanced, more advanced than the. Her hands shook as she called an emergency council meeting. "How did our intelligence fail so completely?" she demanded. Her intelligence minister looked pale. "Empress, they deceived us. They deliberately broadcast outdated technology, made us believe they were weak. We saw what they wanted us to see. And now the entire galaxy is seeing the battle footage. Every species knows what happened. Our enemies are celebrating. Our subject worlds are preparing rebellions. The Empire is collapsing." Felt her 1,000-year empire crumbling around her. One battle, one mistake, one underestimated enemy, that's all it took. Back on Earth, Commander was brought to a conference room. Human officials questioned him for hours. They wanted to know everything about the Empire, its military strength, its political structure, its conquered territories. Answered every question. There was no point in resisting. His empire was finished. He had seen the human weapons. He knew they couldn't fight them. No one in the galaxy could fight them. "Why did you attack us?" Captain asked him. "Because you looked weak," replied honestly. "Because we thought it would be easy. Because we have done it 847 times before and it always worked. It didn't work this time." "No," said quietly. "No, it didn't. We have a saying in our empire. The hunter who underestimates his prey becomes the prey. I should have remembered that." Admiral joined the interrogation. He looked at the defeated alien commander with something like pity. "Your Empress will receive our demands within the week. The Empire will dismantle its military. It will release every enslaved species. It will pay reparations. If it refuses, we will come to you and end your empire by force." "She will agree," said. "After seeing what you did to us, she has no choice." The galaxy was changing. Earth had revealed itself, and nothing would ever be the same again. The message traveled across the galaxy at the speed of light. On 3,000 worlds in hundreds of different languages, beings watched the same footage. The destruction of the fleet, the emergence of humanity, the end of an empire in 28 seconds. In the capital city of the collective, a peaceful species that had defended themselves from attacks for decades, the High Council gathered to watch the broadcast. When it ended, they sat in stunned silence. "Did you see their weapons?" asked Council leader. "I've never seen technology like that. Those shields, that firepower, they never stood a chance." "We must contact these humans," another council member said. "If they oppose the Empire, they could be valuable allies." Across the galaxy, similar conversations happened on hundreds of worlds. Some species felt hope, others felt fear. All of them understood that the balance of power had just shifted dramatically. On the Empress faced her military council. Half of them wanted to gather every remaining ship and attack Earth with overwhelming force. The other half argued for immediate surrender. "You saw the footage," said quietly. 500 ships, our best fleet, destroyed in less than 30 seconds, and the humans only used 3% of their ammunition. 3%. What do you think they'll do if we send more ships? The room fell silent. "We send a diplomatic envoy," she continued. "We accept their terms. We survive. The alternative is the complete destruction of our civilization." Admiral stood on the observation deck of the UES Phoenix, watching Earth rotate slowly below. The blue planet had been humanity's home for hundreds of thousands of years. Now it was something more. It was the center of a new power in the galaxy. Captain joined him. "The prisoners are asking to speak with you, sir." "Which one?" "Commander. He says he has information we need to hear." Followed her to the holding area. Sat alone in a cell designed to be comfortable but secure. When the humans entered, he stood respectfully. "Admiral," said through the translator, "I need to warn you about something. The Empire is not the only aggressive power in the galaxy. There are others. Some are worse than us. When they see what you did to our fleet, they will study it. They will prepare. Some might even form alliances against you." "Let them," replied. "We're ready." "Are you?" Leaned forward. "You revealed yourselves to protect your home. That was brave. But now every predator species in the galaxy knows you exist. Some will want to test you. Others will try to steal your technology. You've made yourselves a target." Considered this. The alien commander had a point. "What do you suggest?" "Expand quickly. Build alliances with peaceful species. Show the galaxy you're not just warriors. Show them you can be protectors. If you only use your power to destroy, eventually everyone will unite against you." The admiral studied carefully. "Why are you helping us? We destroyed your fleet." "Because I've seen what happens when empires rely only on force," said sadly. "The Empire conquered for 2,000 years. We enslaved hundreds of worlds. We thought we were building something permanent, but empires built on oppression always fall eventually. You have a chance to be different. Don't waste it." 3 weeks later, Commander was returned to thee in a small human shuttle. With him came Earth's formal demands. The terms were harsh but not impossible. Complete demilitarization under human supervision. Freedom for all conquered species. Reparations paid over 50 years. And most importantly, the creation of a galactic council to prevent future wars. Empress read the terms in her throne room. Her advisors waited nervously. "If we refuse," she asked the human ambassador, a man named who had arrived with. "Then we will enforce these terms by force," replied calmly. "Your empire will be dismantled. Your military will be destroyed. Your government will be replaced. These are your only two options. Choose wisely." Felt centuries of imperial pride warring with survival instinct. Pride lost. "We accept." The news spread across the galaxy within days. The Empire, which had ruled hundreds of worlds for two, had surrendered without firing another shot. The implications were staggering. On Earth, President met with his cabinet to plan the next phase. General presented plans for expanded defenses. Doctor proposed new research programs. Communications Director outlined diplomatic initiatives. "We need to be careful," warned. "We've shown the galaxy our strength. Now we need to show them our wisdom. We can't just be warriors. We need to be something more." Doctor raised his hand. "Mr. President, we've received communication requests from 147 different species. Most want diplomatic relations. Some are asking for protection. A few are offering alliances. Accept the diplomatic requests. Send envoys to the species requesting protection. We need to understand their situations before we make promises, and vet the alliance offers carefully. Some might have ulterior motives." Across the Empire, the impact was immediate and dramatic. On the world of Prime, slaves who had been forced to mine crystals for 50 years watched as their overseers received the surrender announcement. The overseers simply left their posts and returned to their ships. Within hours, the slaves were free. Similar scenes played out on 200 worlds. The Empire's military, occupation forces evacuated. Without the threat of overwhelming force, the conquered peoples simply stopped obeying. The Empire collapsed like a house of cards. Commodore, recently promoted, led a fleet to the collectives. They had been among the first to request contact with Earth. Their delegation met her in orbit. "We have defended ourselves from them for decades," explained. "We are scientists and explorers, not warriors, but we had no choice. Now that the threat is ended, we wish to share our knowledge with you." "What kind of knowledge?" asked. "Archaeological discoveries. We have found ruins scattered across this region of space. Ruins left by a civilization that existed millions of years ago. A civilization that was even more advanced than yours. We think you would be very interested in studying them." Felt a chill run down her spine. A civilization more advanced than humanity. What had happened to them? Why were they gone? "We would be very interested," she agreed. Back on Earth, Admiral oversaw the construction of new defensive stations. The military was expanding rapidly. New ships were being built, new weapons developed, new shields tested. Humanity was preparing for whatever came next. Lieutenant, now promoted to captain, commanded one of the new orbital fortresses circling Earth. From her position, she could see the constant traffic of ships, human vessels patrolling, alien diplomats arriving, traders from distant worlds. Earth had become a hub of galactic activity almost overnight. "It's strange," she said to her executive officer. "A year ago we thought we were alone. Now we're at the center of everything." "Do you think we're ready for this?" he asked. "We have to be." On the dismantling of the military began. Human observers watched as warships were decommissioned. Weapons were destroyed. Bases were closed. The empire that had ruled through force for 2,000 years was becoming something else, something smaller, something peaceful. Former commander had been appointed as an advisor to the new Galactic Council. His experience made him valuable, despite his past. He worked closely with human officials to create a framework for lasting peace. "You understand," he told Ambassador, "that not everyone will accept this new order. Some species profit from chaos. Some empires see strength only in conquest. There will be challenges ahead." "We know," replied, "but we're not giving up. Earth has decided that if we're going to be a galactic power, we're going to use that power for good. We're going to protect the weak. We're going to promote peace. We're going to build something better than empires built on slavery and fear." "I hope you succeed," said sincerely. "I really do." 10 years would pass before anyone could judge whether Earth had succeeded in its ambitious goals. But the seeds were planted. The message had been sent. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy not just as warriors, but as protectors. The age of the Empire was over. The age of Earth was beginning. 10 years had passed since the battle that changed everything. The debris field where 500 ships died had been cleared away, but the memory remained. Every species in the galaxy knew what happened there. Every empire understood the lesson. The Galactic Council met for the first time on a neutral space station built specifically for this purpose. Representatives from 300 worlds gathered in the Great Hall, humans, dozens of other species, all coming together to forge a new future. President of Earth stood at the podium. He was younger than had been, but he carried the same determination. Behind him, Admiral watched carefully. Security was tight. Not everyone wanted the council to succeed. 10 years ago, Earth revealed itself to the galaxy in a moment of violence. We destroyed an invasion fleet in less than 30 seconds. We showed our strength. But strength alone does not build a lasting peace. Today, we take the next step. Today, we show that humanity can be more than warriors. We can be builders, protectors, partners. The hall listened in silence. Many of these species had suffered under the Empire. Others had been threatened by different aggressors. All of them wanted what Earth was offering: safety, justice, peace. The Galactic Council will have real power, continued. Any species that attacks another will face consequences. Any empire that enslaves others will be stopped. We have the military force to enforce these rules, and we will use it if necessary. Commander sat in the delegation. He was older now, his face marked by the weight of guilt and regret, but he had worked tirelessly for this moment. The fall of his empire had given him purpose. He had helped draft the Council's charter. He had convinced other aggressive species to join peacefully. After the speech, he approached Commodore, who now commanded Earth's diplomatic security forces. "Did you ever think we'd end up here?" he asked. "Former enemies working together." "No," admitted. "When I watched your fleet die, I thought that would be the end of it. I didn't expect redemption was possible." "It's not redemption," said quietly. "Nothing can redeem what the Empire did, but perhaps we can prevent others from making the same mistakes." The Council's first major action came quickly. A species called the Dominion had been raiding colony worlds on the edge of known space. They were aggressive and well-armed, but they hadn't seen Earth's military in action. They thought the stories were exaggerated. They were wrong. Captain led a task force to the border, 20 human ships, a tiny fraction of Earth's fleet but more than enough. When the fleet encountered them, they immediately attacked. The battle lasted 45 seconds. The lost 60 ships. The humans lost nothing. The Dominion's leadership received the same message Earth had sent: the surrender or be destroyed. They surrendered within hours. Word spread quickly. The Council had teeth. Earth's military enforced its rules without hesitation. Species that had considered aggression reconsidered. Peace became the safer option. Doctor stood in a laboratory studying the ancient ruins that had mentioned years before. The technology buried here was incredible. Weapons that made Earth's arsenal look primitive. Shield generators that could protect entire planets. Power sources that tapped into fundamental forces of the universe. "Who were they?" she asked, who had become a close friend over the years. "We call them the precursors," the scientist replied. "They existed 10 million years ago. They built an empire that spanned the entire galaxy, and then they vanished. No one knows why." Doctor joined them carrying a data tablet. "I've been analyzing the ruins' computing systems. I found something disturbing. These people didn't disappear. They destroyed themselves." "What?" Looked at the data. "How?" "Civil war. They became so powerful that when they fought each other, they nearly destroyed the galaxy. The survivors chose to dismantle their civilization rather than risk it happening again. They left these ruins as a warning to whoever came next." The implications were chilling. The precursors had achieved technology beyond imagination, and it had destroyed them. Was humanity heading down the same path? General received the report with grave concern. He called an emergency meeting with Earth's leadership. "We need to be very careful," he warned. "We have incredible power, but power without wisdom leads to disaster. The precursors prove that." "What do you suggest?" President asked. "We stop advancing our military technology so quickly. We focus on defense, not offense. We use our power to protect, not to dominate. And we make sure every new weapon system has multiple safeguards. We can't let ourselves become so powerful that we destroy ourselves." The policy was implemented immediately. Earth's military research shifted focus. New projects emphasized protection and peacekeeping. Offensive weapons development slowed. The goal changed from dominance to stability. Lieutenant, now a colonel, trained the first mixed-species peacekeeping force. Humans, reformed, and dozens of other species working together. They would enforce the Council's rules across the galaxy. "It's strange," one of her human officers said during a training exercise. 10 years ago, we were preparing to fight everyone. Now we're training them to fight alongside us." "That's progress," replied. "That's what we fought for, not to rule the galaxy but to make it safe enough that no one needs to rule it." Ambassador established Earth's embassy on 20 different worlds. Each one became a center of diplomacy and trade. Humanity shared technology selectively, helping species develop without creating new superpowers. The goal was balance, stability, mutual prosperity. On Earth itself, life had changed dramatically. The sky was busy with traffic. Alien visitors walked the streets of major cities. Human children learned galactic history alongside Earth history. The planet had become a crossroads of cultures. Admiral, approaching retirement, stood in the same spot where he had watched Earth rotate 10 years before. So much had changed. So much had been accomplished, but he worried about the future. Captain found him there. She had become his most trusted advisor over the years. "Something bothering you, sir?" "I keep thinking about the precursors," he admitted. "We have all this power. We're using it well now, but what about in 100 years, 1,000? Will our descendants use it as wisely, or will they make the same mistakes?" "I don't know," said honestly. "But we can build institutions to help them. That's what the Council is for. That's why we're training peacekeepers from multiple species. That's why we're sharing power instead of hoarding it. We're trying to build something that will outlast us." The memorial ceremony took place exactly 10 years after the battle. The space station, built at the coordinates where the fleet died, had been transformed into a monument, the Memorial of Galactic Peace. Representatives from every member species of the Council attended. Commander stood beside President and Admiral, former enemies united in remembrance. "We gather here to remember the 5,000 who died in this place," said. "They came as invaders. They died as a lesson. But they were still people, still beings with families and dreams and fears. We honor their memory by ensuring that such conflicts never happen again." Stepped forward to speak. His voice was thick with emotion. "I led that fleet. I gave the orders that brought them here. Their deaths are my responsibility. I cannot bring them back. I cannot undo what the Empire did to hundreds of worlds. But I can work every day to build a galaxy where such things are no longer possible. That is my atonement. That is my purpose." The ceremony ended with a moment of silence. Thousands of people, representing hundreds of worlds, standing together in peace. It was a powerful symbol of how much had changed. Later that evening, Admiral and Commodore shared a quiet drink on the observation deck. They had been through so much together: the preparation, the battle, the building of peace. "Do you think we did the right thing?" asked, "revealing ourselves the way we did?" "Yes," said without hesitation. "We had to show our strength. If we'd hidden and had given up, someone else would have tried. We needed to establish ourselves clearly. One demonstration that no one could forget. And the cost: 5,000 dead, the trauma to their species, the collapse of their empire. War always has a cost, but consider the alternative. If they had succeeded, Earth would be enslaved. If we'd just driven them off, they'd have returned stronger. We ended it decisively. We saved billions of lives across hundreds of worlds. That matters." Nodded slowly. "I suppose you're right. I just hope the next generation understands. I hope they remember why we did what we did." "They will. We'll make sure they do." Earth had annihilated an invasion fleet instantly, but that wasn't the important part. The important part was what came after: the peace, the cooperation, the commitment to use power for protection rather than conquest. The Empire was gone, transformed into a peaceful federation. The Dominion had been humbled and reformed. Dozens of other aggressive species had reconsidered their policies. Hundreds of worlds lived in peace under the Council's protection. It wasn't perfect. There were still conflicts, Still problems, still species that tested the boundaries, but the galaxy was safer than it had been in thousands of years, and Earth stood at the center of it all, not as a conqueror but as a guardian. The age of empire was ending. The age of cooperation was beginning, and it had all started with 30 seconds of overwhelming force followed by 10 years of patient diplomacy. Humanity had revealed its strength. Then it had revealed something more important, its wisdom, its compassion, its commitment to a better future for all species. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly the point.